Hello.
Hello, AOS fans.
It's the Agents of Deathgorge.
Yes, we're back with another very quick Deathgorge video for you. We've released a few things today because today is pre-release day.
Yep.
We did say in our first video that we released was all the changes in Deathgorge, and we did say we would miss some, and verily we were right.
Yes, two things we missed, and they're very subtle, but they're also quite big in their own way.
They do make quite an impact, I think. And I can say, if there's one thing we do know about ourselves is that we are rubbish.
Yes.
We will make mistakes.
We will.
But actually, they work really hard to spot. And the only reason we did spot them was because, I don't know if you've seen it, but Games Workshop have released a Meta Watch video, which I think might be the best piece of content they've ever released for Underworld.
Probably what is most detailed, most informative.
So it's Nick Baton and John Bracken having a chat about this current state of play of the game, and they talk about what's coming in Deathgorge, and John Bracken kindly talked about 3 rules changes.
Yep.
One of which we did
We got one out of 3.
2 really subtle ones that we didn't catch.
Yeah.
So it kind of reiterates to me, John, if you are watching, and I am going to email you, it takes several times to email, but I am going to do that. If you are watching, please put a box at the front.
Just give us a
says,
PDF.
What's changed this game? Well, you keep saying PDF, but I think they could put it at the front of the room.
They could. They could, but they could put a QR code if they wanted to. Yeah. If they wanted each release to be its own thing, and they didn't want to reference previous releases for the newer starters, and they didn't want to confuse them, they could at least put a QR code and go, here's the new stuff. A bit like with the erratas and stuff like that, and then they could update it with a magenta every time a rules change comes in.
I'm going to write that. So I'm going to write that.
So, no, wait a minute. Come back. I've got to finish the video.
Okay. So the changes anyway.
So there's 2 changes.
We mentioned, and this is the thing we did catch, that plunder rules have changed, so that you can now put a non-objective hex, that's one here, to the sort of ones that used to be snare and cover are now cover and blocks. And you can now put one of those down any time you kill somebody, as long as there's one available. Yeah,
so there's going to be the first 2 kills of the round that you're going to put 2 down, basically.
Yeah, and then if anybody does remove an objective, then you can put it back.
Yeah.
However,
there's a little change that you don't notice because it's not in the plunder rules section. It's like in the end of round section.
It's in the clearing up the token section, which hasn't changed since the year dot, and nobody really bothered to read it.
No.
And you do cover, because these are blocked hexes made of ice, and they do melt away.
Which seems a bit unlikely given everything's covered in ice, but they do melt.
Yes.
So at the end of each round, any blocked hexes that are on the board will melt away.
Any blocked hexes that have been placed.
Have been placed, yes. Now that's interesting because this might not make a big difference because they're going to pop up and disappear and pop up and disappear, but the Fearsome Fortress deck does rely on placing one of those at the start. You might place it as a blocked hex because you want to block things and it's going to disappear.
I thought that was
good.
I mean, it will still count for your objective scores. If you did place one during the round, it's the last thing after the end phase. So you'll still score everything, but then it will disappear, so you won't have it back for next time.
So if you're hoping to have it in place for like the one where you have to have 3 feature tokens together and you haven't drawn that yet, and then it melts away, you might be a bit snookered.
Put it cover hex up.
Yeah, well, you might put it cover hex up, and then your opponent might flip it, thinking, now it's going to disappear. So
you can't flip it because it's blocked.
No, but you could flip it if you were Tixie Cacker or someone like that.
You can't flip it. Oh yes.
Yeah,
see. You can't delve it.
So there's some you can't delve it, but there's flipping mechanics. There's flipping mechanics again.
There's so many subtleties to this game, which is John and Nick do talk about it again. There's so many different. They change one thing and it has suddenly
so many different changes. So there's one change. It might not be massive, but there are potential things in that, and it just highlights the fact that it's in a section which probably no one's read since Night Vault days or something like that you wouldn't notice. So that's quite a large change. And
the second change, I think, is larger.
Even largerest than the one.
It's larger than a Space Marine.
Yeah.
But again,
they're the largest.
Really, really subtle. Remember in the previous set of rules, maybe the one before, they changed it so that you could reactivate fighters that had made a charge action once everybody had charged.
Everyone claimed that the sky was falling in and it ruined the game at that point. Actually, it's made it a bit better, if anything.
It has. But you couldn't do a super action.
No.
Or move.
Or move. They were very specific. Super actions or moves.
And now they've taken away the word or move.
Yeah.
So now you just can't do a super action. So you can't do a scything attack, you can't charge, but you can move.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge.
Yeah. They were talking about the fact that the previous ruling really heavily favoured ranged fighters. So like your Ephelims and people like that, they could, if they were the only fighter left alive, they could charge on the first go somewhere into the middle of the board, and then they had the range to be able to just blast people.
Especially
on the last.
Especially if they're tooled up, they're very hard to kill.
Exactly, and they just sit in the middle, turning around just on everything that was there. But if you had like a Morgok or one of the Drom's lads or something like that, they charged on the first go, and then they were like,
come back.
Guess I'll sit here then unless someone comes in range.
Yeah, which you never do.
No.
I mean, now means you can move out of range potentially if you want to, or actually just if you think you might have enough lives left, sort of move up and then smack them.
Yeah.
That's quite a long.
You could possibly even if things are just how you need them to be, if you've got some push mechanics, you might be able to get an attack off, then charge, then move and get another attack. So it could make a big difference.
And it's also quite good for objective holding warbands, potentially. I mean, they don't tend to do a lot of charging, so like if you
possibly not historical guard, but
exactly. But
other ones.
Chosen axes, you know that horrible feeling when you've charged onto an objective, got onto it, and then end of
someone just shoves you back.
Someone just pushes you back, and then great. But if you're going last in the turn, you can then move back on again. So that's quite good. I'm sure there are other objective holding warbands that will quite like that.
There's a lot of objectives in the game now which are have people killed and stand on some objectives and that kind of thing. They brought objectives back into the fold quite nicely, but that inability to be able to move someone once everybody's charged was a little bit of a negative play experience.
Yeah, and so you can even, for some of the more martial ones like the orcs or whatever, so they can go and charge somebody, smack him in the face and then move along and score got him boss.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's that's quite powerful, I think. So it's a big change for just the removal of two words.
Two words, which who is going to notice that?
Just 3 words, or remove.
Yeah, it's true, okay. But either way, very few words, big change.
Yeah.
Why use many words when big change will do? So those are the 2 rules we missed. There might still be more, it's hard to tell.
They're the only ones we mentioned, that John and Nick mentioned.
Yeah. So GW, please give us a QR code or a PDF or something in there, a little sheet or something to tell us what's changed. And everybody at home, if we have missed other rules from the other video or this one, do let us know in the comments below.
Absolutely, and we will once again fail in 6 months' time.
Yep. So we'll see you soon in the Deathgorge.